Good afternoon and welcome to News Lab Live. I'm Micaiah Matthews. With Election Day now behind us, we now have a clearer image of how the country and Gen Z is feeling. This year, 41 million Gen Zers were eligible to make their voices heard, and the results mirrored the country's general interests. While Gen Zers still supported Vice President Kamala Harris, it was by a smaller margin than President Biden received in 2020. But regardless of who they supported, students here at Montclair and across the nation mobilized to get their peers to vote. Recently, the Montclair State Democratic Club had the honor of welcoming now Senator-elect Andy Kim to campus. Kim, who won his election against Republican Curtis Bashaw, took part in a Q&A session where students got a chance to hear from him about his journey as an Asian American politician.
It's a very unique experience to run for office, to see your name on a ballot. For me, I'm a son of immigrants. I'm a public school kid. I never thought that politics was for people like me. My parents never talked about politics at the dining room table. We're a family of political nobodies, and I always thought politics were for somebodies with, legacy last names that are inscribed in buildings and streets. But what I come to see is, I think there is a hunger in this country right now for a new generation of leadership to step up, trying to show that there's a different kind of politics.
It wasn't just the Democrats who made their voice heard on campus this election season. The newly established Montclair State Republican Club hosted tabling events to share their message.
So if you look on campus right now, there's essentially no conservative club or organization that's active promoting student values that are conservative. In today's event, I came here to support Trump, to support some other local congressional candidates, and to just basically let the students here on campus know that we're here and that we're a new club on campus.
After a contentious election season, months of campaigning, and polls showing a very close race, Donald Trump won a decisive victory against his Democrat challenger Kamala Harris in both the electoral and popular vote, carrying all of the battleground states to become the first president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms since New Jersey native President Grover Cleveland was re-elected in 1884. As expected, the race came down to a handful of battleground states, but no state was as watched as Pennsylvania with its 19 electoral votes. All eyes were on Pennsylvania, including those of a student reporting class led by veteran journalist and producer Professor Steve McCarthy. Sean Thrunk, one of his students, reflects on the experience of diving into the heart of this contentious election battle.
I had the privilege of being a part of a team of students traveling across Pennsylvania to cover the 2024 presidential election. This team was led by Professor Steve McCarthy. We sat together and reflected on our trip.
This trip was based on something I did 4 years ago for public television. I crisscrossed the state for a show called Washington Week to talk to voters about how Pennsylvania was going to go, Republican or Democrat, Biden or Trump. Pennsylvania is a fascinating state because it's sort of a microcosm of the United States. There's an East Coast city with everything that comes to that, a large minority population, working class, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's sort of a Midwest city, which is Pittsburgh, which is something recovering from the deindustrialization. There's also, as James Carville said, Alabama in the middle, which is a very rural area, which is red. So you have a little bit of everything that you have in the United States, but most importantly, you have 19 electoral votes up at stake, and that is critical.
So now, in terms of what you experienced previously on that first trip, how did it differ this time around with your students?
I didn't find much of a difference. I found an incredible swelling of support for President Trump in the West, more than I expected. But of course, we went to that Butler rally, which was a revisit to the place that he had gotten shot on July 13th. So that was possibly askew. But it seemed like there was a lot of support out there. But I can tell you, covering presidential campaigns since 1984, it's 40 years, this is not normal. It's not normal. It is exceptional. He's an exceptional politician, Donald Trump. He will go down in history as the exception rather than the rule. The way that he can speak, the way that he can insult people and things like this and not pay any price for it is extraordinary.
I think a lot of us, for us students, We grew up, I was in 8th grade when Donald Trump was first elected, and it was one of those things where we are used to, we grew up in this political environment that he got, but you have all of those years of experience.
That was an interesting perspective, though, that you guys brought, because you said to me, we're used to this. And I was like, don't get used to it, because it's not normal. And this is something, as a journalist, it's a very fine line and a very tricky thing to be in, because you won't want to take sides and everything.
So how are you feeling about the trip? How do you feel about what we got? Are you feeling confident with the pieces?
I have been traveling with students for 13 years right now. Normally something stupid happens or somebody ends up crying or something, but this time with this group, everything went incredibly smoothly. And I don't know why. I think you guys are great. That's why. And I think it was a really interesting mix of students as well. It's one of the most interesting times. I mean, I think you guys should consider yourself lucky to be out there. I was lucky to be out there. I wanted to do this, to take you on this ride again, because I've been doing it for so long. And this has been one of the most interesting times ever. So, welcome to the party. Journalism is fun. It's great, and it's good.
Okay. Back here on campus, how are students reacting to the results of the election? News Lab's Matt Lang asks.
I personally feel disappointed in the outcome of the election.
I'm upset. I'm a little upset. I woke up to the news. I was a little hurt.
I'm not really satisfied with the outcome of the election.
I feel definitely disappointed.
I thought it was going to be more of a fight, honestly. Trump was just kind of in the lead all the time. I was just like, damn.
I don't feel great about it. I think it's a bit scary, to be honest. I don't think anyone's really let the whole thing sink in yet.
The United States is not going somewhere good.
The world continues to spin.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I woke up and I thought somebody was like doing a prank. I didn't think it was real at first, and now that I know that it is, I am frightened, but that's about all I can say.
Obviously, many people are upset about different things that were put into legislation by, Donald Trump, and people will continue to be upset about it. Some people have different feelings about it. Me personally, as a Palestinian American, I fear waking up one day where the news headline will be Palestine has been demolished and it doesn't exist anymore. And I think that's something that isn't seen too much as a reality and isn't taken very seriously enough. And I think it should be coincided with the other issues that are being pressed during this time.
I'm definitely more left-leaning, and I'm a queer person, so I'm definitely afraid for my rights, considering all that's at play here.
I voted yesterday, and I voted for Kamala Harris. I'm a Democrat. I'm a middle-class individual coming from second-gen people from Southeast Asia. And, I understand Donald Trump is now our president again. He doesn't really do anything that supports me and my family in terms of, financially, the tax, stuff like that. So I'm unsatisfied.
But I am still happy and proud to be a part of a democracy in which I have a voice and I'm able to, express my opinion in the in the cases of free speech and, whatnot. But I'm a little bit concerned about the future, but, I respect the fact that we're in a democracy.
At the end of the day, elections shouldn't tear people apart. News Lab's Sydney Mercer takes us to an event where both Democrats and Republicans came together to encourage conversation and deliver a sweet twist to voter engagement.
Believe it or not, this is the site of a civil political debate. Meet Anthony Foster and Aiden DeMarzi. One's a Democrat, the other a Republican, but their friendship crosses party lines. Together, they're encouraging students to engage in civil political discussions. At this Montclair State Democrats event, students heard opinions from both sides and got the chance to pie one or both in the face.
I think this is a great idea to promote early voting and just getting the awareness of voting.
People came for the pie, yet stayed for the conversation.
What is your take on illegal immigration?
We had a bill to address that back in January.
That's just dealing with the consequence of illegal immigration.
What surprised most students was the seemingly rare sight of open conversation between Republicans and Democrats on campus.
I have never, ever seen the word Republican on this campus.
But that's why I talk about what he's done.
It makes me so happy that we're having conversations. I don't think we should be scared of people with a different opinion.
I'm very happy to see people of different groups coming together to talk about how they feel about their own society and their government. I think that's very American.
Republicans and Democrats coming together to serve up a slice of democracy. For Montclair News Lab, I'm Sydney Mercer.
That's all for this week's episode of News Lab Live. Until next time, I'm Micaiah Matthews. Thanks for watching.